But about 10 years ago, we had Patti Comeau-Simonson, an old friend of mine, who appeared on our show and talked about her book that she had written about grief. And what prompted her to write the book was the death of her husband from colon cancer at a young age. And she kind of went through the things you do in overcoming or dealing with grief. And it was a great book. Now, 10 years later, she's come out with another one, which most people that know me personally know I'm somewhat of a foodie. So I love this book. It's called Recipes for Healing. And again, it's not just a reprise, it's another look at how to deal with grief, but also through some recipes that she's put in to the book. So read it. Well, here we are. You might remember, if you watched the show, Patti, this is Patti Comeau-Simonson, and she was on our show after her first book, 7 years ago.
10.
10 years ago, anyhow. So we're back with her next book. Tell me about it, will you?
Well, it's basically called a teaching memoir, and it wasn't supposed to be that way. I have always wanted to write a cookbook since I was a little girl, and so that was my dream, but life got in the way, and it never happened. And then I went about 3 years ago to a conference in Tampa, Florida, that Hay House Publishing was putting on. And I went because there was a seminar on how to publish a book.
Okay.
So I thought, well, okay, this is what I'll do, is I'll find out if I can even do this. So when I went in and sat into this room with 300 people,
wow.
The CEO of Hay House, Reed Tracy. He.
That sounds like a made-up name.
I know. Really, when you think about it, his name is Reed Tracy, and so he was asking everybody, all right, who wants to write fiction, who wants to write nonfiction, poetry. He went right down the list, and then he said, who wants to write a cookbook? So I raised my hand, and I was the only person in that room.
Out of 300 people?
Out of 300 people, I was the only person. Wow. And he said, oh, a cookbook is one of the hardest books to write. I said, okay. I wasn't really happy to hear that. But, so he was also with an author there who was also talking at the seminar. And when I went out afterwards, I had purchased her book, and so she was autographing it for me. And she said, you're the one that wants to write a cookbook. And I said, yes. And she went, it's a tough book to write. And I said, well, mine's going to be a little different. I said, and she said, oh, well, please tell me. So I said, my idea has evolved over the years. It's just not a cookbook. I said, I lost my husband a long, long time ago, but I've realized that cooking was one of the resources, one of the tools that helped me to get through my grief.
Okay.
So my thought is I will write recipes with little anecdotes. I know you do. I know.
I'm a foodie.
So am I. Well, you believe me, I am as well.
Shoot, I'm sorry.
And And so I said, but each recipe will have an anecdote, a little story as to why.
Cool.
And so she said, well, that's actually really good. But she said, I don't think you should be writing a cookbook. I think you should be writing a teaching memoir. And I went, you mean a self-help book? And she said, yes, actually I do. She said, because I had also told her about my background after David died and what happened and what I did and what I have been doing in grief, dealing with grief and loss. Yeah. And so she said, with your background, with your story, I believe it should be a teaching memoir, and the recipes can be, at the end, they'll be like icing on the cake.
Cool.
I said, no, I don't really want to do that. So she said, well, think about it, because I think it's unique.
Yeah.
There isn't anything that has recipes and talks about cooking, but really talks about a story about grief and loss.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'll think about it. And so the rest is history. I thought about it, and 2.5 years later, with an editor, and here it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever read the book Like Water for Chocolate?
Years ago. years ago.
It's out of Mexico, and it's a story of a family, but between every chapter, she has a recipe.
Ah, yes, that's right, that's right.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's right. I talked
I was
throughout
going to
the book.
suggest you do Grief for Dummies, but I don't think that's...
No. You know, I talk about, actually, I've talked about some of the recipes. Throughout the book, I talk about food.
Okay.
Periodically. And there are other recipes that I've talked about, and they didn't end up in the book, because I'll tell you, by the time, they were right, writing a cookbook is really hard. The story was hard enough, but when I got to the end and had to write about the recipes,
Yeah.
the editor, I mean, really and truly, she hardly ever came back to me about the story itself. But through the recipes, it was like, you cannot assume, Patti, that people know the size pot you're using. You cannot assume, Patti, that they understand what sautéing is about. It's like, really, because you know, when you're cooking, you just do it. And you don't think about, okay, this is a sauce pot, this is a skillet, this is a crock pot. I mean, you don't think about those things. But writing a cookbook, you do have to be extremely specific. And I never gave that up.
I admire you greatly, because I have toyed with the idea. People ask me, I will make up something, and they'll say, well how do you, give me the recipe. I said, well, I add a little brown sugar. How much? Well,
Exactly.
till it's right. Well, what do you mean? I said, well, just...
Exactly. You can't do that when you're writing. You cannot do that when you're writing. Well, at least that's what the editor...
That's why you're way ahead of me. I'll never write a book.
Well, I would never do it again, let me tell you. So
I want to ask you something. Is there a creative gene in your family? Because if you don't know this, Patty's maiden name was Gerard, and she has a brother by the name of Mike Gerard, who was the lead singer and founder of a rock and roll group called The Fools, who are...
Yeah.
They're appearing tomorrow night. We just talked to Stacy.
Yes, that's right.
Down
Yeah.
the Cape or something.
Yeah, they are.
And you have this, now this is your second book.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
were your parents creative?
My mom was very, very creative. She never wrote anything, but she was, I would consider her a very creative person.
Okay.
And my dad, he was more gregarious.
Okay.
But
It's not bad quality.
yeah, I guess, but yeah, I don't know.
I want to tell you something about cooking, I think. I mean, this is a great idea. And I would tell you, my wife is in the audience here, but she will tell you that from time to time, like a lot of people, I get depressed. I mean, I turned 81. I'm like,
I know, Paul, yeah.
And, a lot of times I will cook, and
That's right.
it lifts me up. And what are we doing now? And I forget about my woes or whatever.
Exactly. That is what got me through probably the most difficult time of my life, actually, because I had control. We have control when we're cooking.
Yes.
I had no control whatsoever about what was happening around me.
You've been through a lot.
Yeah.
You've been through,
Yeah. It was 3 losses in 3 years, so,
Yeah.
and major losses.
Yes,
so,
yes.
There's a lot to say, and being the caregiver, and there's always one in a family, and I'm the one. I was really busy doing a lot of that, and then with David getting sick and everything, I just it was like a whirlwind kind of thing, and cooking really, through that time, grounded me. It kept me grounded, and it was the only thing that did. But then you'll find in the book, there's a period of time after David died where I wanted nothing to do with cooking at all, because I had no concentration. I didn't really care, and I lived on. For the first few months, I lived on Ruffles potato chips, Fritos jalapeno cheddar cheese dip in a can. It's wonderful.
Okay.
And a Bud Light beer.
Wow.
Or, to change it up, I would have a bowl of pasta. because I love pasta.
So do
Like people
You know,
like chocolate, I love pasta.
I'm gonna tell the audience here, Patsy and I have known each other, when did you graduate?
A long
60?
time, 64.
So I knew them, my wife and Patty were classmates. So
Yep.
we've known each other for over 60 years.
I know.
And I think it struck me when we did the interview 10 years ago in your first book, that you and I, in a way, are kindred spirits.
Yes.
You know? And
I agree.
this book nails it, man.
I know, right? And what you just told me about, when you're feeling depressed and stuff like that, honestly, one of the best things to do, in my opinion, is to cook.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it just takes you away. Well, there's nothing better than sharing and having good conversation, maybe a nice glass of wine, and having a really good meal. And I love gathering with family and friends, and that's part of it too. And during all of this, and when I was back into it again, it was nothing for me to really just have family and friends so that I could cook and share with them. It was just all part, it was a resource, a tool of the many tools that people have to have when they're grieving.
But it's also a gift.
Well,
It's
but
a
I
gift.
know.
It's a gift that you give.
And the thing is that there is some things in there for people, because I know everybody doesn't like to cook. They don't get the joy that you and I do.
Talk to my wife.
Well, no,
I do all the cooking at home.
Yeah.
I love it.
But, right, exactly. And so, it's a wonderful way to survive.
What's the next book? What's the third
There
book?
is not one.
Come on.
No, I don't think so.
We got a few years
I know
left.
people, well, I hope I do, but, but I don't know. So,
Thank you very much.
you're very welcome, Paul.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Glad that we're still in touch after all these
Yeah,
years.
I know,
Keep
I know.
That creative gene that you and your brother
Well,
like going.
yeah, we'll see. I don't see it happening, but I'll figure out something else. Thank you.
Get the book. Can you get it? Amazon?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble in Peabody, and the publisher of the book, Balboa Press. You can get them from there as well, so, yeah.
So I bought it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul.